How you doing? So today we're going to be looking through the highest win rate decks in Marvel Snap. So this is a little bit different. We're not really looking at standard lists. We're not really going to get distracted by that. We're just saying what are the best statistically highest win rate decks in Marvel Snap as of the patch. So should be some good information, some eye-opening stuff, that kind of thing. Let's begin. Oh, hi there. All right, so let's talk about the setup, right? This is the data from December 5th to December 18th. So we're looking at the patch data. We're going to have usually 2 decks per slide. So I want to mention that there's going to be sometimes these little like alternatives. Each alternative itself represents a different list that also showed up in these high win decks. So it basically, if you want to play a different list, it's just saying like, this list, if you replace Shang-Chi with Super Skrull, also performed very well through these metrics. Now, also, this is a focus on win rates. Normally, I do kind of like standard lists and then like a win rate list. This is going to be all win rate lists, right? We're just going to be seeing how that changes the perspectives, and then we're just using untapped data. We're doing 70 through 99. So this is definitely going to be good data for people that are trying to still hit infinite, things like that. So that's the setup. Let's begin. So first list, or first archetype, first list we have is Darkhawk. So Darkhawk, you may be surprised, right, but ends up having some of the best win rate stats holistically here. You could, a lot of people will be like, oh, but Thanos Blob kind of destroyed Darkhawk. Well, that deck isn't like that popular enough to kind of shut down Darkhawk, and Darkhawk is just a good deck to play if you're combining with a lot of things. Just the power of rocks, power of just being able to shut down opponents' draws is surprisingly effective to just kind of make them leave, make them retreat. So you just kind of get a lot of like wins that are sneaky when you're playing Darkhawk, and it just has like good consistent cards to play Miss Marvels in there. Sometimes you play Elias, sometimes you play Professor X. I want to mention that in this one case, the Professor X version was better. So if you remove Doctor Doom, Professor X, that was actually the highest win rate there. But this was a lot easier to put multiple alternatives in, right? I could put Super Skrull in there as well as this particular deck itself, so it just fit better. But I just want to mention that like the Professor X version was better. And then you can see, even if you're not playing Elias, if you're just playing like Devil Dinosaur, even that list was also doing particularly good. So there are a couple of archetypes that had so many different working variations in the top 10 deck list that for Darkhawk itself, I do have a secondary set of decks to play. So it's just nice to show that, hey, Darkhawk did statistically have a lot of, you could change a lot of different cards, but Darkhawk still shines through overall as an archetype, being one of the better decks to play. So just something to showcase here. There are more than that. So next up we have is High Evo. High Evo is another one that has a ton of decks to play, a different ton of lists to play. But High Evo has just been a consistent powerhouse, especially after the Luke Cage changes. There's not really that much dealing with the high evolution, like big game plan. You have Magic, there's not that much Legion running around or Scarlet Witch or anything to remove the limbo stages. So you just get to set up and then play your powerful plays. Leech is a good answer. This first list was very interesting because it's not a list I would have expected to be performing so well, right? You're foregoing a lot of the traditional high evolution stuff, and now you're running a Cosmo, you're running a Wave, right? I think Wave right now is pretty good since there's not that many people running like huge big swing cards. A lot of people are playing like bounce stuff, so you can definitely get away with playing a Wave into Hulk or Doom and then have another follow-up. So just interesting to see that was ended up being the best performing high evo list, but there's a lot of good high evo lists. We do have a secondary like set of lists, so anything in here is top 10 potential, right? None of these decks are bad, period. Like that's the whole takeaway. Like there's no bad decks here. These are all like top of the line decks, and we're just kind of going through the list, right, and seeing the archetypes that kind of hit that spot. So high evo has a ton of options. Pick whatever you want to play, you'll do well. Third set up here in the high is Annihilus. Now, this was kind of surprising to me. I don't see that much Annihilus, and But I can understand why it's doing so well. Just being able to lock people down is just so strong. There used to be more answers before, like when it came out. A lot of people were like very conscious of the Annihilus game plan. Now that things have settled down, people are like playing Blob and stuff like that. There's not really as much Annihilus tech played in. So Annihilus gets to kind of do what it wants and be annoying. So this was another one of those lists with a lot of flexibility. A lot of people seem to be doing well. We do have a second set of Annihilus decks to play. So if you like this type of game plan, the stats seem to say that it's doing really well. You can also see here we do have this like particular one where it has this huge amount of games played. Normally when it comes to a high win rate decks, they don't have a lot of games played just because it's more likely things will gravitate towards the mean or towards the the mean, right? When you add more games, right? But Annihilus decks seem to have consistency and power, and a lot of people are playing it, meaning that the execution is also probably pretty good. So definitely an archetype to play if you like doing this type of game plan. Seems to be showcasing well. Next up, we have Bounce, right? So Bounce, pretty strong. I think a lot of people already know that Bounce has always been a good archetype to play. They keep trying to nerf it in little ways, but it just has a lot of flexibility. You get to do a lot of things you want to do. So Bounce is strong, not too surprising. There's a lot of different variations you can. So we've kind of passed through all the ones with like 2 pages of variations, right? But Bounce still has a couple of options to work with. Next up, we have Lockdown. So Lockdown is particularly solid, right? Just being able to shut down your opponents. A lot of people have just been annoyed with this, and there's been some talks that Lockdown might get some adjustments, some patch nerfs after the holidays are over. So it's definitely something to keep your eye on. But while it's still here, it's still a very, very strong archetype to play, just being able to shut what your opponent wants to do. So if you like that, there's this Echo tech that people are using to kind of deal with Miss Marvel counterplay, since a lot of people are running Miss Marvel in their deck. So that's something, if you do have Echo, that you can just utilize yourself to take advantage of the metagame. Next up, we have Surfer. So Surfer is kind of showing up. I'm not like too surprised, but I do think Surfer is kind of harder to sometimes get to work consistently. So kind of interesting that the Shaw version of Surfer is currently the highest win rate Surfer that you can play, but also regular Surfer without Shaw, if you don't have Shaw or you don't want to play Shaw, is also doing particularly well. The regular Surfer is more where I lean towards, since you get to play more counter tech tools, where with the Shaw version of Surfer, you have to kind of rely on just having this big Surfer or Shaw to kind of win your game. So definitely interesting to see Surfer doing pretty well. And these are like highest win rates, right? So this is like better than anything else I've talked about or haven't talked about, right? Like, so that's like Loki and stuff. Like when it comes to win rates, this is the one that shows up first. Next up, we have Blob Thanos. So this is the new improved Thanos, kind of taking advantage of the fact that Blob kind of absorbs all the stones, and the Thanos itself is a 10 power beast, so you just have a lot of synergy there. This is kind of like flavor of the week that a lot of people are picking and playing, and I do think it is a strong list, right? You can see it's in the highest win rate, so that's kind of a very good sign for Blob Thanos moving forward, that you'll probably see this as like a metagame staple maybe moving forward. It's just interesting. It's not like the highest win rate list or anything near that, but it is a good list that you can definitely run, and a lot of people are having fun with it, so who am I to judge? And next up, we have Shuri. So Shuri is not as high as it used to be, right? This used to be like the best deck in the game, things like that. But they've been nerfing Shuri little by little, and now it's still solid, right? Still in the top 10 archetypes, but not kind of like dominating the metagame as they used to. There's a lot more answers, and there's just people can get over Shuri, right? That was something that Shuri had, like the best advantage. You couldn't really contest the Shuri lane. You could really only Shang-Chi it away or a Valkyrie or something like that. You couldn't say, oh, they have Shuri, Red Skull, 28 power. I'm going to be bigger than that. Right? That's not a feasible gameplay a lot of times. But now with Blob, now with just like being able to summon Hella Tribunal, things like that, there's just decks that can be bigger than a Shuri lane. So it doesn't have the like insane potential where there's no way to contest it. Now you can find decks that can just contest Shuri lanes, and that's really where it's lost a lot of its edge. But still a good deck, just not the behemoth it used to be. Next up, we have Destroy. So Destroy is a fun list. It's one of those lists that a lot of people like playing, and there's just a lot of things you can do with Destroy, and it has a lot of good matchups, right? I think that's some of the best advantages of playing Destroy. There's just a lot of good matchups that you can just do well with. There are some bad matchups, right? You would say She-Hulk or any deck that's playing armor, right? They can really hurt your Destroy engine, but if you're not playing into those matchups, right, like just being able to kill Monger one drops, there's so many decks that just run one drops and have no protection. So just being able to do that just gives you this huge advantage, and you get to play all the other stuff. There's no like Mobius really in the meta, so the death pops up and all the extra synergies in there. So pretty good list if you like playing Destroy. And I believe the last archetype not we have here is, you should know, actually, it's Loki, right? So Loki not the highest, right? So a lot of people, myself included, would say like Loki is still a big problem, still one of the best decks to play. But that's really only the case when you get into the highest like matchups or the highest elo, where there's just a lot of really good players that understand your deck better than you may understand your own deck, right? So they can definitely just play to their outs, look for their finishers, set up their Loki combo, and then play your deck in a way that kind of shuts down any answers you may have. So when it comes to just climbing, trying to get infinite, right, Loki's definitely a good deck to play, and it's up here, right? It's on the list, but it's not like this is the only thing you can do. So definitely sometimes I see people saying, oh, I have to play Loki to climb or something like that. That's not true. You can play a lot of different things, but it is a good deck if you like playing that style, and you see a lot of tournament players just do well with Loki. So if you want to kind of adapt that style, you can definitely just pick up a Loki and play. But overall, this is a little bit different. We're not kind of doing standard lists, so I'm not kind of utilizing play rates or how many games people are playing. Usually when I kind of make these kind of videos, right, I kind of look at their play rates, how many people are playing the list, and that kind of influences like sometimes they're right. Because here we're just looking at straight win rates. What wins the most? What do you want to play? And then we're kind of collecting them, making sure that things are fit together nicely. But other than that, that's what we have here. So what's your thoughts? I'm kind of curious to see whether you like win rates, the regular thing, moving on. But anyways, that's what we got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe you'll get a deck to play that will hit you into infinite. Always love hearing those comments. But anyways, that's all we got. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Once you watch him, you won't go back. He'll teach you to marvel snap. Your skills will be